GirlPod. What's up, GirlPod? She's in GirlPod too.
What's up, y'all? I'm Sarah.
And I'm Sandwich.
And we're GirlPod. Thank you so much for tuning in to another video. As always, this video is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc. Use code GirlPod for 5% off your order to support the show. If you want to support the show directly, check out Patreon down below. We're joined today by Grayson from NerdsandNachos. We're digging into the Aminatou Precon from Duskmorn and his upgrades, and we're just going to dig through them and have a great time. So, Grayson, if you want to tell us about you and where we can find you.
Yeah, what's up? I am Grayson or GC, whichever one you want to call me, it doesn't matter. I host Nerds and Nachos every Tuesday at 8 a.m. on most podcast-affiliated sites. I'm also on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram under the same moniker. And you can hear me have mediocre takes about magic and yell at the clouds as an old man.
So let's talk about Aminatou. So she is one in Esper, which we love Esper. And if you don't know how much we love Esper, Grayson did an entire podcast about how much we all love Esper. So check that out.
It's actually 2 episodes.
2 episodes. I'm in one of them, so you should go check it out. We'll link it below. Anyway, so
Really good one.
Aminatou, Veil Piercer. She is a legendary creature, human wizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, Surveil 2. We know what Surveil does. And then each enchantment card in your hand has Miracle. Its Miracle cost is equal to its mana cost reduced by 4. And you may cast a card for its Miracle cost when you draw it if it's the first card you drew this turn. So, off rip, how are we feeling?
The second I saw this deck, I knew I wanted it because one, it's a new Esper deck, and I missed the Sidar Jabari one.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not letting that happen again because Esper's my baby.
Yeah.
But as I played this deck, I really, really like Enchantress. I've built. This will be technically my second list, but the 3rd iteration of an Enchantress deck, and it's fun. It's a lot more fun than my Abzan one that I put together because it was Merkel, Lord of Bones, instead of Onyxia, and Merkel ticked almost every box for an Abzan commander that I wanted, but still left that one little piece out, so I decided to swap green for blue.
That makes sense. I support it as an Esper lover. Abzan can suck my butthole. No offense, Sandwich.
More for
I know
me,
you love
that's
Onyxia.
fine.
I know, I'll give you all my Abzan cards. Just here, take them. They're yours. They can be your children. All right,
I'll give them a good home.
Let's talk about what we're taking out of the deck, and I say we very loosely. This is all Grayson. We're just showcasing his brain. So let's talk about what we're taking out. Sandwich, take us away.
Okay, so we are going to start with the Auramancer, which is 2 generic and a white. For a creature that is a human wizard, when Auramancer enters, you may return target enchantment card from your graveyard to your hand.
I took this out because 1, it's 3 mana, and 2, there's not a lot of recursion that I'm doing in the upgrades. So I went with a major Enchantress theme, but a more theft sub-theme. So I'm trying to play stuff at flash speed. That's why we have like things that we'll talk about later. That's why they're in there. And I'm not really trying to lose my enchantments, so I'm not really worried about chucking them in the bin and then bringing them back. So it's Burnished Heart. It's 3 generic for a 2/2 elk artifact creature. Sacrifice, pay 3, sacrifice Burnished Heart, search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, put them on the battlefield, and then shuffle. I don't remember why I took this card out, to be honest. I think I just needed the slot.
I think for 3 mana and 3, I feel like there's just better cards. I just feel like there's better.
Yeah,
6 mana for 2 lands is not a lot. And I also, when I cut this deck down, I was running 40 ways to reduce mana between lands and rocks. And I was just like, I don't really need this anymore.
That makes sense.
yeah, you'll probably find it.
Yeah. I also feel like it's an artifact creature, so you're not really getting it. It's literally here just to go get 2 lands, and there's so many better ways that you could do that. So many.
Yeah, I think Myriad Landscape is in here and does the same thing for 2 mana.
Yeah,
Oh, hell yeah.
we love to see it. All right, next we have Dream Eater, which is 4 generic and 2 blue for a creature that is a Nightmare Sphinx. It has flash, flying, and when Dream Eater enters, surveil 4. When you do, you may return target non-land permanent an opponent controls to its owner's hand.
I got rid of this for 2 reasons.
Okay.
One, it's 6 mana
Yeah.
for a 4/3.
Yeah.
Yes, it has flash. I don't care.
Who
The
has 6
surveil
mana
trigger.
open to flash it in?
Yeah. I don't want to do that. I don't care about that. I'm giving everything. Eventually in the deck, I'm giving everything flash.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, the surveil trigger is nice, but it doesn't mesh super well with the miracle cost because there's a lot of ways for me to just look at the top of my library anyway. So I didn't need it. It's too big for a poor stat line. And just to bounce something on swing, it's just not worth it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
6
fair.
mana is so much. Like, if you're gonna make me pay 6 mana, like, you have to do so many good things for me to pay 6 mana. So I get that.
I mean, there's an enchantment in here that if I can miracle it out, only costs 6, and it does so much more.
Yeah. I feel like if you could, like, because it's surveil 4, I feel like if you surveilled 4 but also returned 4 target non-land permanents and opponent controls, it would be better and worth the 6 mana.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do that. It's just one thing. Now, would this be sick in a Blink deck? Perhaps. If you're playing
Probably.
Graveyard Blink, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Graveyard Blink, I would say yes. But that would be like a very niche. We're trying to do something quirky and different.
I'm not like the other deck.
I'm not like another
I'm a
deck.
graveyard blink.
I'm a graveyard. I blink from the graveyard, for sure.
I'm not your average Azorius blink deck.
I'm not like other Azorius.
I'm a blink
decks.
deck, but not like that. Is that what you would say? Would you say that you're a blink deck, but not like that?
Probably.
Grayson would say he's a
You
blink deck, but
would.
he's exactly like that.
Yeah.
Except I do have a blink deck that its only goal is to draw myself out of cards.
Do you want to draw cards and
Sounds pretty
die?
good.
Yeah, exactly like Scrippy. I just want to draw I want to touch every card that's in my library, and then I want to die.
Magic the Gathering.
Woo! Okay, we got the Nightmare Shepherd, which is 2 generic and 2 black for a 4/4 enchantment creature that is a demon. When has flying, and whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a 1/1, and it's a nightmare in addition to its other types.
So you would look at this and look at some of the planeswalkers that I've added and think these would work really well together, but I actually cut this today. Because the more I looked at it and the more I like studied what it does, it's kind of like it does kind of what Hoffrey does. Hoffrey Ghostforge is one of my favorite Boros commanders because he exiles it and brings it back as a copy. It's just not a 1/1, it's a spirit. And the more I looked at it, I was like, yeah, but I don't get the copy back. So if it gets hit with a lightning bolt, it's dead and gone. Or if I have one of the base cards from the Precon, Starfield of Nyx out, it just immediately dies because its power and toughness gets set to 0.
Yeah.
So I was like, it doesn't work, and there's a better card that I can throw in here today.
That
It's
makes
actually staring at me from under my monitor right now. Like, why did you forsake me?
Father!
Play me, father. Put me back in the deck, please.
I have one purpose, Father. I was placed there for a reason.
Put me back. Put me in the sleeve.
I
really
need to
is.
put him in the binder. Oh, all right. I'll try to reel us back in. Phenomenon Investigators. 2 and Demir for a 3/4 that when it enters, choose Believe or Doubt. Believe whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you make a 2/2 black horror enchantment creature, or Doubt at the beginning of your end step, you may return a non-land permanent you own to your hand, and if you do, draw a card. I'll be honest, I just don't like this card.
You just don't like it?
I know it's situationally very good if like I have a lot of stuff dying in combat, especially if it's like a non-token creature. But to be totally honest, I'm not sacrificing my creatures all that much in this deck. That's not the purpose of this deck. I have no sack outlets, and I don't want it in there. And with the way that this deck runs, you tend to draw quite a bit. Or if you don't have an Aminatou out, your hand can get gummed up real hard because it's a very mana intensive deck.
Yeah.
So I took this out and I was like, I don't want to be putting stuff back in my hand and then drawing more cards and then potentially having to discard them.
I think I agree with you that I don't like this card. I'm like reading it and I'm like, why? Why do I have to pick one?
Yeah.
I feel like games take so many turns. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, I picked believe, and now I don't have any creatures that are dying. You know what I mean? But I should have picked doubt. It's like now I have to get rid of this and find a way to replay it for it to be valuable because I need things in my hand. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like if this card had flash, maybe it'd be better to like save things that were, you know, someone's like, oh, I'm gonna board wipe. Okay, cool.
Oh,
I'm gonna respond.
I'll just get all my little guys. I'll get all my little guys back.
Yeah, just get all my things back. Like, I think I would like it more if it had flash, or if it were like even just like an instant instead of it being a creature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or just some way to blink it.
Yeah.
Inherently on there.
Again, we're going for a graveyard. Okay, so should we take the turn and just make this graveyard blink? Is that what we're doing now?
I mean, when you see what I've added.
I'm so excited to see what you've added. Okay. Moving on. We have Prognostic Sphinx. It is 3 generic and 2 blue for a 3/5 creature Sphinx. It has flying and discard a card. Prognostic Sphinx gains hexproof until end of turn. Tap it. Whenever it attacks, scry 3.
This is the same reason as why I got rid of Dream Eater. It's too much mana for an unstellar stat line.
Yeah.
And I have to tap it to give it hexproof. Like, I don't care if you're gonna swords it or path it. Like, I don't care. The scry 3 on attack is not good enough anyway. I don't know. With Aminatou having Surveil 2 and then other ways in here to look at the top of my library, it just seemed, while I know redundancy is good, I'm not crazy. I know redundancy is good. It was just too much of it.
Yeah.
Man, it's still almost 6. Like, that's a lot, dude. Like, I get it.
It was a very brother moment.
Brother, ew, brother.
Baby,
Ew, brother.
All right, we have the Verge Rangers. 2 generic and a white for a 3/3 creature that is a human scout ranger. It has first strike, and you may look at the top card of your library anytime. As long as an opponent controls more lands than you, you may play lands from the top of your library. You can play a land this way only if you have an available land to play remaining. That's interesting. That little bit at the end, they're like, you have to have one in your hand, or else you need to do it.
It's just like, no, don't do it this way. This is a decent card. I'm not gonna lie to you. It is okay. 3 mana for a 3/3 with first strike, and having that Ball of Citadel ability is good. But it's the last part that made me be like, I don't want this. To be able to play lands only if I have less lands than everyone else. I don't love that. Yes, it does help me like get rid of stuff, but as I've said before and will continue to say, there's other ways in this deck for me to look at the top card and play stuff off the top. Like, I think it just came in the deck was one with the multiverse, and that's just objectively better because it's harder to get rid of.
He's innocent. Your Honor, he's just a girl.
10 toes down on that business, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'm simply standing on business as a little guy.
It's so good.
But now we're on to Source Race.
Yeah.
And we've got one of the biggest ones in the deck. It is Aminatou's Augury. Exile the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them onto the battlefield. Until end of turn, for each non-land card type, you may cast a spell of that type from among the exiled cards without paying its mana cost. The issue that I had with this one, other than it being 8 mana and it doesn't say win the game, is there's too many similar types in the deck because it's either creature or enchantment creature.
Yeah.
And I've played Muldrotha enough to know that you can pick one super type, but that doesn't override anything else. And so I was just like, 8 mana to potentially play like maybe 4 cards for free just doesn't jive with me super well. Yeah. So I cut it out.
Yeah, I can't say I would have cut this either, to be honest. I could see this in my hand and me just being like, I'm not gonna play it.
Yeah.
Just gonna not. It would just be a dead card for me.
Yeah, it would just
It would be
rots.
it feels bad. Like you pull it up and you're like, I need to make a list. That's how I would feel if I saw that in my hand. That's too long. Like,
Okay. We have Entreat the Angels, which is XX and 3 white mana. It is a sorcery. Create X 4/4 white angel creature tokens with flying. It has Miracle, which is an X and 2 white mana cost.
I got rid of this just because
I
it's a
don't like
burst
it.
of angels.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this card. Sigil of the Empty Throne is already in the deck,
It is better.
and you're playing. Yeah, it's
Love that
better. It's
card.
5 mana, and you're making an angel every turn almost.
Yeah.
Mhm.
When I was a little
Instead of
new
just-
magic dumb idiot player and didn't know that the 2 X's meant you had to divide them, I was like, it felt so I was like, I'm just gonna pay. It was on a Chalice of the Void. I was like, I'm gonna put the Chalice on 2, and they were like, your Italian's on 2. Why would you do that? And I was like,
So it can counter it, and you lose life.
yeah. So you can't play anything.
we have Portent, which is 1 blue for a sorcery that says, look at the top 3 cards of target player's library, then put them back in any order. You may have that player shuffle. Draw a card at the beginning of the next turn's upkeep.
So I got rid of this for. I think the only reason is just because I needed to make a cut because I was at like 101 cards and I needed to get rid of something. And this was one of the ones that I had just looked at over and over and been like, this has gotta go. I don't like this card.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
like, it's nice because you're able to look at someone's library, you're able to kind of screw up what's on top, but that also could be giving them a bigger advantage if you let them shuffle.
Yeah. Because you don't know what's in their hand. You
The
don't know what's going to end up at the top of their
audacity.
deck.
Yeah.
Even if you do it to yourself, it's just like a worse brainstorm or a worse
Yeah.
ponder. And I just cut it. I was like, gone.
Yeah.
But speaking of things we don't jive with, read the bones. 2 and a black, scry 2, draw 2 cards, then lose 2 life. Look, I know people will go to bat for this card. I understand that. I get that. I hear you. You're valid. I see you. I don't like this card. I fucking hate this card.
Well, I think
Grayson is illiterate.
if it
That's
were
why he hates it.
cheaper, mana-wise, it would be good.
Oh, 100%.
3 mana to scry 2 and draw 2. And you lose 2 life.
It should
Are you
just be
kidding me?
2.
Yeah, like if it were just 2 like 1 and a black.
It'd be
I could
perfect.
get
It'd be the
behind it.
perfect
Yeah.
card if it was 1 and a black.
Yeah, I could get behind
Oh
it.
yeah.
then.
And it would fit the
100%.
theme of everything else being 2. Like, how is it 3 when everything else
Yeah,
is 2, 2, 2?
Yeah!
and pay 3?
Scry 2, draw 2, lose 2 life, we have to pay 3 for it. Fuck you.
Or fuck it, just make it 6. Just double down, triple down, make it
me hate
6.
it.
Make it 5 and a black.
No, just 6 black.
6
That's
black
the
fifth.
perfect-
6 black. Oh my.
It goes in
It's the
every crit
perfect
deck
crit
on the
card.
planet. Alright, next we have Terminus, which is 4 generic and 2 white for a sorcery that reads, put all creatures on the bottom of their owner's libraries, and it has a miracle cost for 1 white mana.
I don't like this card either.
I don't like this card either.
It's- It's stinky, and I'd rather kill my stuff than put them on the bottom of the library.
Yeah.
If I put it in the yard, I might be able to touch it again. I might be able to pull it back out. If it's on the bottom of my library, I gotta go tutor for it.
Yeah.
I don't want to do
Yeah.
that.
It's like a more rude board wipe just to put it
Yeah.
at the bottom of their library. And like, that's unnecessary. Board wipes are already, like, as someone that plays them every now and then, board wipes are already pretty rude. You don't need to do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think originally I had like 3 or 4 when I was upgrading this deck, because this deck is a combination of like 4 decks put together.
Yeah.
So I had too many, and I had to cut them out. So I was like, that's just too much. We gotta stop this.
Speaking of wipes, next we have Time Wipe, which is 2 generic, 2 white, and a blue for a sorcery that is return a creature you control to its owner's hand and then destroy all creatures.
I'm booing this card, and I hate it.
There were so many board wipes on this deck, and this is one of the ones I cut because I was just like, I think at one point I had Terminus, Time Wipe, Dam, and Blood Money, and I was like, that's just too many board wipes.
Too many.
So let's get rid of some.
Let's get rid of all.
Um,
Great of you.
And this one costs 5. Like, I would rather it just cost 2 white and 2 generic and be Wrath of God.
Yeah.
Hey, you! Yeah, you! Do you like cool stuff? Do you like GirlPod? Do you want to get cool stuff while also supporting GirlPod? Go on over to coolstuffinc.com, put all the cool stuff you want in your cart, and use code GirlPod at checkout for 5% off. This will ensure that you have the coolest stuff and that the girls can keep potting. Cool stuff, cool stuff. What's up, cool stuff? We buy cool stuff too.
Alright, let's move on to the instance.
We got Otherworldly Gaze, 1 blue, Surveil 3, Flashback 1, and a blue. I believe I got rid of this because I had stuff like Brainstorm, Ponder. It was just another one of those, like, yeah, I could throw stuff in the yard, but I'm trying to draw it, and having the it was too redundant. Having the Surveil 3 be on top of Aminatou's Surveil 2.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, I could Surveil 5 if I wanted to dump everything in the yard, but what if I want to draw one of these cards?
No drawing cards for you, friend. Sorry, absolutely not.
So it had to go. I had to chuck it in the bucket and just say goodbye.
Alright, next we have Return to Dust, which is 2 generic and 2 white, for an instant that reads, exile target artifact or enchantment. If you cast a spell during your main phase, you may exile up to 1 other target artifact or enchantment. That's so expensive for just taking... Yeah, it's so expensive for only taking care of 2 things. Like, only one thing, but if it's like this one super secret phase, then you get to take care of 2 things. I don't like it.
Yeah. It's like, it's an instant, but if you play it during sorcery time, then you get a special prize. And it's like, well, what's the point of making it an instant then? Like...
If you play it during sorcery time.
Oh, Lord, sorcery time. What is it? I know it's main phases, but like, it just sounds like a weird time for a child. It's like, oh yes, son, it's sorcery time.
It's sorcery time. Father.
You must put on the pointy hat.
Put on the pointy hat. It's wizard time, brother.
Grab your brick. It's great.
Grab your brick.
Oh man, I wish that I could do this to that person, because right now we are back to slords to plowshares.
Slords? It's wizard time.
It is undoubtedly wizard time.
Swords to plowshares.
Oh my god.
Do it in the civil voice.
I'll say it.
For the campaign.
So we've got the Swords to Plowshares. It's 1 white mana for an instant where you exile a target creature. Its controller gains life equal to its power.
Why'd you get rid of the fucking sword?
What the heck,
Look,
Grayson?
so this is I added a lot of counter spells.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I am that person.
That's okay.
And my thought process is, I don't have to spot remove it if it never hit the table in the first place.
If it's not on the battlefield. Wow.
I also just have an issue. I get rid of spot removal. I get rid of removal a lot because of who I am as a person. I built an entire deck without removal, and then one of my friends played it, and they were like, please, for the love of God, put just one board wipe in here. I'm begging you.
No.
It'll thin out your counter magic.
It's like, no.
I'll slap on the wrist for that.
Throw this girl.
Before the last card, we have the Thirst for Meaning. Draw 3 cards, then discard 2 cards unless you discard an enchantment card. I know that the sub-theme for the Precon was a lot of escape shenanigans with Master of Keys. He's still in the deck. Like, let's calm down. He's still there. He's still there.
He's still looking freaking heckin' cute. It's fine.
I thought about getting rid of him for Valgavoth, but we're not there yet.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
No. No.
But I'm not trying to discard enchantments. I'm trying to draw them. I'm trying to play them.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Okay. Finally, for instance, we have Utter End, which is 2 generic, a white, and a black for an instant that reads exile target non-land permanent. That's so expensive for removal.
This costs too many dollars to get rid
This
of one
costs
thing.
too many dollars. It's 49 cents too many. This should be a 1 cent
Good
card,
art,
and
though.
it should be 1 mana.
But it's in every precon.
It's annoying, is what it is.
It is. I don't like this card.
Because I can't even exile a land. Are you kidding me? Get out of here.
You heard it here first, everybody. Sarah is on the land destruction train.
Look, after a stream that we played last
Their
night
favorite
with
card is
Bear Claymore,
Armageddon.
yeah, 100%. Destroy all permanents. Everything. Get rid of it. Your lands clocked.
Hey.
Get out.
Our lands.
Hey, Armageddon's a tier 4 card, so
Put it in. Yeah, put it in. I can't even.
Armageddon stronger than Vampiric Tutor.
Stronger than Vampiric. Stronger than Draenith Magistrate. Let's talk about artifacts. Artifacts. Actually, factually, artifactually. Artifactually. Artificially.
Actually, artifactually. Brainstone. We have. It's one generic for an artifact that is pay 2 and tap to sacrifice Brainstone, draw 3 cards, and then put 2 from your hand on the top of your library in any order.
Oh, where's Brain Freeze?
It's the worst brainstorm ever,
Brainstorm.
and so I chucked it. Well, as much as I love puns, I'm gonna take us to a card that probably people would be mad that I cut, but it's Commander Sphere. 3 mana rock, add 1 mana of any color, sacrifice, draw a card. I just had too many mana rocks, and I had to cut a 3 cost. I was like, bye.
Fair and valid, Herd Chef. I understand. I also understand this next one, which is Orzhov Signet. 2 generic, 1 tap to add Orzhov, which is black and white. I hate the signets. I'd rather have a talisman all day, every day. I'm not a fan. I don't like the signets.
I cut it for a talisman. I do still have, I think, the Azorius and Dimir ones I threw in there. But to be honest, I would rather have... There were 3 mana ones. There were the Key Runes and the Clue Stones. I would rather have a Clue Stone any day of the week over a Signet.
Yeah.
I know I just said, like, I cut a 3-cost rock because it cost too many dollars. But my thought process on the Signets is you are always still netting the same amount of mana for a Signet. You're just filtering it. So if I have to pay 1 more mana to still just be able to use this card on turn 3, I'll do it. I don't care.
That's so fair and valid. Let's move on to our enchantments, which are objectively the stars of the show here. So
They are.
what did we take out? We, very loosely, I mean you. Sorry.
We have Bottomless Pool, which is 1 blue, and when you unlock this door, return up to 1 target creature to its owner's hand. And then we have the Locker Room, which is 4 generic and 1 blue for whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card.
So I like this card. I wish that the reconnaissance mission / coastal piracy part of it didn't cost 5 mana. Which, that's fine, I get it. I understand you can cast it for 1 blue on either side if it's the first card you draw that turn. I had to cut stuff, and I have stronger enchantments that I have added.
Yeah.
And just a 1 mana bounce something. I don't want a permanent unsummon just chilling on my battlefield. I would rather just play unsummon. Or, like the true blue mage I am, I'd rather just pay 2 blue and it not ever hit the battlefield.
I'd rather just play 2 blue and counter spell, and then return target card from my graveyard to my hand, and it's counter spell.
Mm-hmm.
I would like
2
to play
untapped blue
Archaeomancer.
mana. That's like the biggest psychological warfare in Magic. Like you don't even have to have it. If you just keep that, people will be like, oh no, I think I'm just gonna pass the turn. It's cool. Don't even worry about it.
It's all
Brit
good.
full of
Don't mess
lands.
me hot. He's a splay.
But now we're at Cast Out, one of my least favorite cards in this entire deck. 3 and a white for Flash, and it's an O-Ring. It's just O-Ring. It's whenever it enters exile target non-land permanent until it leaves, or you can cycle it and draw a card for a white. It's just O-Ring. It's O-Ring. It's bad. It's a bad card. Stop playing O-Ring.
Yeah.
Play Oubliette. Play Oubliette. Oubliette gets rid of commanders forever.
Oh
I
yeah.
hear you.
Stop playing Oblivion Ring.
I've seen a oubliette fuck some shit up, but yeah, cat sounds so expensive. We took it right the fuck out of Ren and Siri too. It's like 4 for 1. Nah, bro,
Yeah.
that's too much.
Absolutely
It's too many
not.
dollars.
Yeah, too much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have
In this
another room
economy?
next. We have Cramp Vents, which is 3 and a black. When you unlock this door, this room deals 6 damage to target creature an opponent controls. You gain life equal to the excess damage dealt this way. And Access Maze, which is 5 generic, 2 black, 1 during each of your turns. You may cast a spell from your hand by paying life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost. So we have Cramped Vents and we have Crick.
Yeah, but only
Cool.
once. Crick, but only once.
Crick, but only Crick on a leash.
Yeah, oh my god, is that a corn song?
Dude, that's so
I said it and I don't know why I did it. I'm sorry.
so glad you did. The image in my head is beautiful.
It's like we have
But
Crick at
Cramp
home.
Vents,
Crick on Temu.
yeah.
Crick at home. It's Kirk.
Oh god, now I have to get an altar of Kirk from Gilmore Girls painted just on that little tiny window.
I'm so about it. I love it so much. That's so funny.
Will I ever play this card? Probably not,
Probably
but it'll
not.
be hilarious,
I'm
and
gonna
I will frame
this
it.
card.
But I cut this because I don't like it. The six damage to a target creature and gaining life to the excess. I mean, if I wanted to play damage removal, I would play red.
Yeah,
That's just
that makes sense.
I would play red. I would play lightning bolt. And then the access maze with one of the cards that I added. I don't want to spoil it because it's mean. And one with the multiverse, and I think there's a creature that came in the base precon that just lets you do this. It's he's also very expensive. Demon of Fate's design. You can pay life rather than use the mana. It was just too many of the same thing, so I just cut it.
Yeah. That makes
And
sense.
if I pay for Cramped Vents, I then have to pay 7 mana to do that. So
We have life insurance, which is 3 generic, a white and a black, for an enchantment that says you can extort. And then whenever a non-token creature dies, you lose 1 life and create a treasure token.
I cut this because again, I'm not sacrificing things.
Yeah.
Mm.
That
I
makes
have a
sense.
deck that runs this. It's Comball because I'm sacrificing a lot of shit and I'm gonna make a lot of tokens and then I come out net positive on the life. Or net neutral on the life. It just didn't have a place in my vision for this deck.
I think the next one that you cut is a personal attack, and I feel personally victimized by you cutting this card.
Look, I wanna like Shark Typhoon. I cut Shark Typhoon. It's 5 and a blue. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, create an XX blue shark creature token with flying, where X is the spell's mana value, or you can cycle it for X1 and a blue, and then you make an X just 1. So look, I'm gonna show you how much I like.
I
Hang
love
on, I have
sharks.
to-
How could you do this to me?
I love this card. I really, really love this card. I
wanna-
want to run it.
I want to build a deck specifically to run this card in, but I don't know what I want to build.
Mhm.
Is there a shark commander? Can we
can't.
have one?
Not Aminatou, apparently. My God.
Shabraz.
Oh, that's
It's one of the
true.
partner commanders. I think it's Shabraz.
Yeah. There's a mutate shark that I don't think he's a legendary, but I would play it. I love mutate. I think it's such a fun cost.
Look, I'd allow it. I don't understand it because of who I am as a person. But
I learned how to play commander on a mutate deck, so I love it.
all right, see, this is how much I love this card. I have the 30th Secret Lair version. I want to use it so bad.
Oh.
I
So
had
you
it in a
cut
test deck. I've cut it from 2 decks at this point.
Grayson,
I'll tell you. I will tell you why.
you're hurting its feelings.
For this deck, it just didn't. It did not fit the whole strategy because I'm not slanging spells.
Mhm.
I'm playing slow. I'm playing stuff. Until I get 1 or 2 enchantments on the battlefield, I'm playing pretty slow
Mhm.
and just saying, please don't attack me. I'm not doing anything. But then after that, my strategy has shifted so hard to other creature tokens or just my enchantments in general
Yeah.
The sharks just don't cut it.
If they made
But I did have
enchantment
it-
sharks, would you like it?
Yeah. I still like the cards, Sarah.
I'm just letting you know, you're
Just hurt my
cutting this
feelings.
whenever you cut the sharks. You cut that little guy. That's who you're cutting.
That's who you're cutting.
Just so
Look.
you know. Just so you're aware.
I may put it back in my Kess deck. The only I took it out of Kess because it's a spell slinger,
Mhm.
and I just have so many cards that do the same thing. It made my brain hurt.
Yeah. I just feel like of
Okay,
all the
fine,
brains,
have a good
I just
reason.
feel like this one it's worth it for your brain to hurt from this one because it has sharks on it. And you're making sharks.
All right, let's go. I'll fucking add it back. What do I cut? Oh shit! Oh,
We
this
can
is
talk
really
about
good.
it later.
Whoops.
We can talk about it later. Okay, next we have Spear of Safety, which is 4 generic and a white. Creatures can't attack you or planeswalkers you control unless their controller pays X for each of those creatures, where X is the number of enchantments you control.
I cut this card because as much as I love Propaganda and Ghostly Prison, it costs more than both of them.
Yeah.
I understand it. I understand it does more. Like, I love Propaganda. I love Ghostly Prison. I love Nils Discipline Enforcer. All solid cards. This is also a good card, but 5 mana for this effect is just a
Yeah.
little
Too much.
much. Even if I'm miracling it out, I'm just like, I would rather have a little bit more impact. I'm hoping that later, at this point in the game, I have like Sigil of the Empty Throne or one of my other token generators out, so it doesn't matter if I'm getting
Yeah.
attacked as much.
That makes sense.
We have Spirit Sister's Call, which is 3 generic, a white and a black for an enchantment that says, at the beginning of your end step, choose target permanent card in your graveyard. You may sacrifice a permanent that shares a card type with the chosen card. If you do, return the chosen card from your graveyard to the battlefield and it gains, if this permanent would leave the battlefield, exiled instead of putting it anywhere else.
So this was finality counters before they existed.
Yeah.
This was my very first mythic from Kamigawa. Like, I pulled this card, I think in Borderless, out of my like pity pack from pre-release. And as soon as I read it, I went, this is fucking terrible.
Yeah. I can also see, like, with the strategy that, yeah, like, it makes sense why you took this out.
Yeah, I
get it.
want stuff in the... I don't want it to go away forever. I want it in the yard. I want to be able to get it back.
Yeah.
Exile's hard.
Anyway, timely word. 2 and a white, you can cast this card as if it had flash, if it targets your commander. Enchant creature has indestructible. I would rather just counter a board wipe. I know it's a very blue sentiment. I would just rather counter it. I don't want to be able to just save one thing.
Yeah, I agree.
And also, it doesn't stop farewell.
No, it doesn't.
Mm.
It does not.
Yeah.
Farewell be yeeting stuff out of here all the time.
So,
Good.
I see that you've taken 9 lands out, and as I kind of go through them,
I
I'm
have.
just gonna read them off because I like that you took them out. I don't fucking like these lands.
Oh, they're bad.
So he has removed Azoria's Chancery, Demir Aqueduct, Halimar Depths, Orzhov Basilica, Tainted Field, a Terramorphic Expanse, Thriving Health, Thriving Isle, and Thriving Moor. And yes, I'm
Fuck them lands.
fuck them lands, bro.
There were 38 lands when I picked this deck up, and if you've listened to any of the signature deck episodes, you know I run a tight ship. I run 33 lands, and that's fucking it.
So tight, dude.
Yeah.
So tight.
Okay. So that's what you're removing. I'm super excited to hear what you've added.
Added a bunch of shit.
Hell yeah.
So, like, let's just freaking start at the top. Let's do it. Take us away, Sandwich.
Okay, we have Alayla, Artful
Alayla.
Provocateur. Alayla, Artful Provocateur, is 1 generic, a white, a blue, and a black for a legendary creature that's a 2/3 and a fairy warlock. She has flying, death touch, and lifelink. Other creatures you control with flying get +1/+0. And whenever you cast an artifact or enchantment spell, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. Great card. Beautiful lady.
I fucking love this card. I love it so much that I put the other one in. But she really benefits from playing enchantments. She was my very first Esper commander.
Mhm.
I built an artifact deck with her. So this deck is a conjunction of Alayla, Artful Provocateur, Tasha the oh god, she's in here. Tasha the Witch Queen, Merkle Lord of Bones, and the Aminatou Precon. So it's a shitload of cards that I shoved in. That I cut down to 100.
Like
But she benefits off of enchantments. I make little dudes, and they come in as 2/1s.
I love that. I'm a fan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think I'm making little guys. Yeah, there's small little guys.
Yeah.
And if I get one of the other cards that's in here, I've got Alayla Cunning Conqueror, 2 and a Dimir for Legendary Creature Fairy Warlock, flying whenever you cast your first spell during each opponent's turn. Create a 1/1 Black Fairy Rogue creature token with flying. Whenever one or more fairies you control deal combat damage to a player, go target creature that player controls. I do not care about that last paragraph. I care about the second one.
Yeah.
I love Alayla. I have ways to enable Flash in this deck. I don't know. She's hot. She's goth. She's purple. I love it.
She checks all the boxes. It's
Yeah.
so good.
She's just.
Yeah, I'm making tokens. They fly. They come in as 2/1s, especially if both of them are out.
Nice. Next up, we have Ashiok. Is that how you say that?
Yeah, there's a lot of her.
Ashiok,
Them.
Nightmare Muse for a legendary planeswalker. It's 3 generic and Dimir. You can +1 them, her, it, she, him, he, they,
Then I think Ashiok looks very feminine, but then I don't know. I don't know the lore enough to tell you correctly.
That is fair. It comes in with 5 loyalty counters, and the +1 ability is to create a 2/3 blue and black nightmare creature token with whenever this creature attacks or blocks, each opponent exiles the top 2 cards of their library. The -3 ability is return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, then that player exiles a card from their hand. And the ultimate, which is -7, is you may cast up to 3 face-up cards your opponents own from exile without paying their mana costs.
This is where the theft sub-theme comes in. This is the worst Ashiok that's in the deck. Because I have to get to 7 and I can only cast 3. And hopefully, after making these nightmares, you are exiling a lot of stuff off the top of your library. So it is unfortunate that she costs 5, comes in with 5, and with the 7 I can only cast 3, but I'm trying to take the best things. So I like her. She was also in the Tasha deck, and it was hard for me to cut anything that had that theft sub-theme in there.
Yeah, I like it. That's really cool.
Ashiok Nightmare Weaver, which is 1 generic, a blue and a black for a planeswalker. It comes in with 3 counters, and for +2, you can exile the top 3 cards of target opponent's library. For -X, you can put a creature card with converted mana cost X exiled with Ashiok Nightmare Weaver onto the battlefield under your control. This creature, or that creature, is a nightmare in addition to its other types, or a -10. Exile all cards from all opponents' hands and graveyards.
This is a harder one to ult, but an easier one to steal with. And because she exiles with her +2, it synergizes with Nightmare Muse so that I can still cast things off out of that exile, because it's just things in exile that are face up. Anything that's in exile face up, I get to put my little grubby paws on and I can cast.
We love grubby pawing around here.
Yeah.
But I think Nightmare Weaver is probably the best one. The next one's still pretty good. She's just the most expensive, or they are the most expensive. I don't know. I wish I knew Ashiok's pronouns, but I don't. But anyway, Ashiok, Sculptor of Fears, for a blue and a black for another Ashiok. Can you tell that there's another sub-theme? It's an Ashiok sub-theme. +2, draw a card. Each player puts the top 2 cards of their library into the graveyard. -5, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. And -11, gain control of all creatures target opponent controls. And she comes in with 4. Also very hard to ult because it's 4, then 6, 8, 10. It takes 4 turns to be, without any proliferation, it takes 4 turns to be able to steal everything.
Yeah.
But 1 turn to take 1 thing,
Yeah.
or 2 turns to take 1 thing. This one's kind of in the middle, but it's still having that big threat of gain control of all creatures target opponent controls. I feel like takes a little bit of the heat off of me.
Yeah.
Because I've played against planes. I forgot the word planeswalker for a second, but we're back. We're here. We're fine. I've played against planeswalker decks before. I have one, and it runs the Phyrexian Ajani in it, and I know to never let that thing ult.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if someone sees this and understands, like, I can just take all of your things if you let me run away with this, it takes the heat off of me and allows me to build other ways to take all your things.
Yeah.
Before we go on, their pronouns. Oh, so the first time that Ashiok was mentioned, they used he, him, but they were the only non-binary planeswalker for a really long time. So.
Oh, cool.
Tight.
Thank you. Now we know it's they, them.
Exactly. Next up, we have Brainstealer Dragon, which is 5 generic and 2 black for a 6/6 creature dragon horror. It has flying. At the beginning of your end step, exile the top card of each opponent's library. You may play those cards for as long as they remain exiled. If you cast a spell this way, you may spend mana as it were mana of any color to cast it. And whenever a non-land permanent an opponent owns enters the battlefield under your control, they lose life equal to its mana value.
Look, this has all the text of a Yu-Gi-Oh card, and I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
I also know I've talked a lot about things being expensive.
Yeah.
This is a 7 mana 6/6. I get that. However,
It's good.
it's real good, and I get to take things and burn you for it.
You get to touch
And it pairs-
touch other people's stuff with your grubby little paws some more.
Exactly. I get to touch more cards than the ones I own. And it pairs well with Arvinox, so that I can take something off the top and the bottom of every end step. So I get double cards each time.
Yeah.
So we have the Curse of Unbinding, which is 6 generic and a blue for an enchantment that is an aura curse. It's enchant player. At the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player reveals cards from the top of their library until they reveal a creature card. Put that card onto the battlefield under your control. That player puts the rest of the revealed cards into their graveyard. It's so mean, Grayson.
So I really like Mill.
He said,
And
I'm
I
stealing
like
your thing and throwing away your toys. Wow.
At least it's 7 mana. Sometimes. Other times it's 4 or 3. Other times, no. My brain. Other times it's 3 mana.
That's such a
If
good
I-
deal.
Yeah, if I
That is
miracle
such
this
a good
out, it's 3 mana. And I just get to ruin one person's day in particular.
Love that.
Next is
I
one of my
love this
favorite
next
board
one.
wipes. Oh, it's one of my favorite board wipes, and I live for the day that I get to just look someone dead in the eye and go, "That's a really nice board you got over there." Damn. But it's damn for 2 black. Destroy target creature. A creature destroyed this way cannot be regenerated, or overload to white, destroy all creatures. It basically changes target to each. So it becomes a one-sided Wrath of God, and we love it. The very first copy of this card was a borderless version from MH2, and that's in my Kumbal deck, and I pulled the one out of the Vampires Precon from Ixalan to put into this one, because I love this card. It's such a good card.
Yeah, it is good. I like it. Next up, we have another just objectively good card. We have Demonic Tutor, 1 and a black for a sorcery that reads search your library for a card and put that card into your hand, then shuffle your library.
Look, I do be tootin' over here. I
be
love a
tootin'
tutor.
too. I love to toot.
This is unfortunately the only tutor in the deck, but if I need it, I can go search for it. I'm hopefully drawing enough cards that I don't need it, but I'm in black. I might as well.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's only
Just for
$54.99.
safety, it's better than the cards you cut. Like, yeah.
I own exactly
Okay.
two real copies of this card. One I paid for with a Yu-Gi-Oh card,
Mm.
and the other I pulled from a Commander Masters pack.
I have one from a mystery booster, the original mystery boosters. I have a demonic tutor from,
I don't have one.
and none for Gretchen Wiener.
It's me. I'm Gretchen Wieners.
The next we have the Demure Signet for 2 generic. It's an artifact that is pay 1, tap it, and add Demure.
Look, I don't like the signets.
Yeah, you said that.
I don't like the signets. I have been very staunch about that. But
know.
I needed another way to produce mana, and as much as I hate it, I just wanted to keep the curve lower because of all of the other like 7 and 8 costs and shit that are in here. So I just threw it in because I don't think I had a Talisman of Dominance ready to go. Then we got a new card though. It's Entity Tracker, 2 and a blue, flash 2/3. Whenever an enchantment you control enters, or whenever you fully unlock a room, draw a card. This is Mesa Enchantress, but better.
Yeah. The next one's a land, so I'm going to skip over it, but it is a Field of Ruin, and if you know land, you know what a Field of Ruin does. But yeah, Force of Negation. It's 1 generic and 2 blue for an instant. If it's not your turn, you may exile a blue card from your hand rather than pay the spell's mana cost. Counter target non-creature spell. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. It's counter magic. We know why this is here.
Yeah, I love counters. I used this
love
against you
counters.
like a few days ago.
Yeah, you did, and it was fucking awful. How dare you? How dare you?
Disrespect.
Disrespectful.
I said it was sorry.
I know.
There's actually
accepted
2
your
counter
apology.
spells.
It was 2 counter spells.
There's 2 counter spells on this list that I have used directly against you.
That's look. Anytime I play against you, everything you play is directly against me. So.
Yeah. Hashtag kill Sarah first.
I don't know why.
Yeah, y'all did start that.
I know exactly why. I know what I did. I'm gonna go to my corner and stay there.
Really cool art on this. It's a Ghost Shintai of Hidden Cruelty, 3 generic and a black for a legendary enchantment creature that is also a shrine, has Death Touch, and at the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. If you do, destroy target creature with toughness X or less, where X is the number of shrines you control.
So, we've started into the 3rd sub-theme of the night. It's shrines. I like shrines.
It's shrines.
I like shrines, but also this is repeatable spot removal that gets better as I play more things.
That's fair.
It's what allows me to get rid of other things.
Yeah, and that's important, getting rid of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, shrine sub-theme again. We've got the Goshintai of Shared Porpoise. 3 and a white for a legendary enchantment creature shrine. It's got Vigilance. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token for each shrine you control.
Vigilance but not Minache? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Such
think
a fuffle though. That was funny.
I think the blue one has Minache, but I do not have it in this list.
Yeah, it's
Mostly because I was like, I know I own it because I tried building a 5-color shrine deck, but I don't know where I put it. So rather than go looking for it, I just didn't add it.
It's in the binder, father.
Very valid.
It's in the binder.
Laziness won. Laziness won that day.
Alright, next is also a fucking land. It's Hall of Oracles. We're just gonna skip right over that.
Is it objectively probably a bad land? Sure,
Yeah.
but whatever.
But we like it. Look, we gotta have flavor. If we don't have flavor, we don't have anything, okay?
Dude, I fucking love Strixhaven, so any excuse to add a Strixie Boys card, I will throw in.
For sure. So next up we have Hallowed Haunting, which is 2 generic and 2 white for an enchantment that reads, as long as you control 7 or more enchantments, creatures you control have flying and vigilance. Wow, that's crazy for an enchantment deck. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, create a white spirit cleric creature token with this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of spirits you control.
I just like this card because it makes infinitely compounding spirits because I'm playing enchantments.
Yeah.
Then all my enchantment creatures are going to have flying and vigilance, so they just get better, and then I have a board of growing guys.
A board of big guys.
Yeah.
No little guys to be
Ghosts
found
and
here.
No, ghosts and Pope hats, and their hats get progressively larger.
We have Hondon of Cleansing Fire. It's 3 generic and a white for a legendary enchantment shrine. At the beginning of your upkeep, you gain 2 life for each shrine you control. Pretty straightforward.
Ew.
Yeah, I like this. I like shrines. I just like shrines. And gaining life, there's always that little, like, starting out Magic player in me that's like, gain life equals good.
Yeah.
If I have enough life, I can't die. And
Yeah.
that's what it's there for. We've got Hondon of Knight's Reach. At the beginning of your upkeep, or it's 3 and a black for legendary enchantment shrine. Beginning of your upkeep, target opponent discards a card for each shrine you control.
Oh. I don't like that. I don't like
it.
Grayson.
It pairs really well with the third to last card.
So, who did hurt you? Can we get a backstory? Because what is wrong? Why don't you want me to play the game?
In my long years of playing Magic the Gathering, I have played very casually.
Mm-hmm.
I have played competitively casually. And I have not known what the fuck I'm doing. But in high school, after my first break, and I came back to the game, a lot of the people that I played with were like very hyper competitive for the fact that we weren't playing F&M or tournaments or anything. We were just kind of like playing the game. And I remember I swung at one of the guys with like an ornithopter for 0 just because it was a goof. And then he killed me the next game.
Wow.
And so I have vowed counter magic and discard, because you can't kill me if you don't have any cards.
Your game memory is incredible, Grayson.
Hondon of Seeing Winds. It is 4 generic and a blue for a legendary enchantment shrine. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card for each shrine you control. Maybe I'm gonna build a shrine deck too. This seems really fun.
I told you to put the shrines in Obeka.
Oh shit, I should.
They cost a lot of money.
Keep,
but, like,
oh my god.
But it might. I have all of my bulk on Mox Shield, and it's saying I own a lot of these shrines.
yeah, get the black, the blue, and the red one, because the red one does increasing targeted damage.
Oh, stop. No.
And then get the black, the blue, and the red Go Shintais, and it's perfect. I know they're
that's
in step, but they
beautiful.
increase the amount of shit that you get to do at your upkeep.
Yeah. I like it. I'd be drawing a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
told you.
cards with even just as one shrine. I would draw a lot of cards.
Yeah, I told you a while ago. I was like, put the fucking shrines in Obeka.
I don't listen.
They're upkeep cards.
That's one thing about me. I don't fucking listen.
Don't fucking listen. I should actually put them in here.
Fuck, okay. Inquisitive Glimmer is white and a blue for an enchantment creature. That's a fox glimmer. It's not a cat at all. Oh my god. Enchantment spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and unlock cost you pay cost 1 less.
So there are not a lot of rooms. I think I left 1 room in the deck. But you know what's better than 1 Starfield Mystic?
2 Starfield Mystics.
2 Starfield Mystics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can talk about the next card if you want me to, but it's just Isolated Chapel. It's a land. It taps for black and a white.
Go with me. Keep it pushing.
So after that, we've got Jace, the Architect of Thought. He is 2 blue for legendary creature, or not legendary creature, legendary planeswalker Jace from Ikoria, +1 until your next turn. Whenever a creature an opponent controls attacks, it gets -1/-0 until end of turn. That's way more impactful than it should be, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
-2, it's a I think it's just a factor fiction. It's reveal the top 3. An opponent puts it in 2 separate piles, and then you put 1 in your hand and the one other on the bottom of your library. And then -8, what he's really here for, -8 for each player. Search that player's library for a non-land card. Exile it, then that player shuffles their library. You may cast those cards without paying their mana cost.
That's really good.
Yeah, he's fun. He should be more than $1, but because he starts at 4 and it takes him 5 turns to be able to do that, That's why he's $1, but I really like him.
Yeah.
Mostly for the +1 ability. I used him in, actually I used him in Tasha. All the Planeswalkers came from Tasha. And I was up against a werewolf deck, and that +1 saved my ass so much.
Next up, I also own this card. Leyline of Anticipation. I'm just so excited to see cards that I own, like, in my bulk, because I feel like every time I put a deck together, I look at it and it's just all blank, and I have to start from scratch buying cards. Leyline of Anticipation. 2 generic and 2 blue for an enchantment that reads, if Leyline of Anticipation is in your opening hand, you may begin the game with it on the battlefield. You may cast spells as if they had flash. So it's just objectively good.
Yeah, it's a good card. I do want it to be in my opener, so I will mull to try and find it. If you want to learn more about Mulligan Theory, Nerds and Nachos, one ship, Mulligan Theory. I don't remember the episode number, but it's there. Spotify.
It's a great
I talk
episode.
about it for like 30 minutes.
It's a great episode.
It's a really important part of Magic too. Like mulliganing
Yeah.
and mulliganing properly is like a thing that you don't know how to do in the beginning. Or I didn't. I still am learning, but it's a
Dude,
good
I've been playing for 20 years. I still don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Next we have Mana Drain. You know her, you love her. She's 2 blue for an instant that says counter target spell. At the beginning of your next main phase, add an amount of colorless mana equal to that spell's mana value.
As seen on GirlPod used against Sarah by me.
For my win con.
It's counter magic.
People
We know
that
why it's
love
here.
you that hurt you the most, Sarah.
I must be very beloved.
I believe it was that play exactly. That was the first time that you were like, who hurt you?
Yeah, I was like, why? Why would you do that? First you milled all of my blue mana into my graveyard, and then you countered my win con. Do you know how hard I worked
That's
to get
why.
your lane out?
It was your win con. That's why.
I know, but why would you do that?
At least I didn't get rid of the bird.
That's true, you didn't. You just destroyed my frickin'. It's on the YouTubes. Go watch it.
But our next card is another counter spell. It's Mana Leak. It's just objectively good. 1 and a blue counter target spell unless its controller pays 3.
It's great. I love it.
I like telling people no.
I do too. I respect it a lot.
I don't do it in my day-to-day life, so I gotta do it somewhere.
That's very
So
valid.
I'm actually super excited about the next card because I got one of the special ones that has a little spooky guy in the bottom of the art.
I wish I got that one, but I got this out of a pack and I was just like, all right, I'll just run this, I guess.
Yeah, I got a pre-release kit for Duskmorn, and it was just in one of like the things that I pulled. Like I was like, oh, this is tight, and Scrippy was like, that has a little guy, and I was like, what the fuck? There's a little guy. There's not normally a little guy there. There's a little spooky guy in my Meat Hook Massacred too. It's XX and 4 black pips, legendary enchantment. When Meat Hook Massacre 2 enters, each player sacrifices X creatures. Whenever a creature you control dies, you may pay 3 life. If you do, return that card under your control with a finality counter on it. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, they may pay 3 life. If they don't, return that card under your control with a finality counter on it. Good night, King. I'm taking
fun.
your stuff.
Yeah, fun fact, I don't give a fuck about the first 2 paragraphs on this card.
Nah.
I
you're dropping
care
it for
about
0,
that
right?
third one. Yeah, paying 4 black, dropping it for 0, do not care. If you start killing your stuff, I get it.
Yeah, 100%.
Is important to note, it does not take commanders. I looked it up.
Interesting.
So if you want to steal somebody's commander, you have to use something that allows you to take it out of the graveyard as the spell resolves. So come back wrong. Shout out
Ooh, that's
Veggiewagon
such a
for that video.
We have Nashi, Moon Sage's Scion. It's a 1 generic and 2 black for a legendary creature that's a rat ninja. A ninjutsu for 3 generic and a black. Whenever Nashi, Moon Sage's Scion deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of each player's library. Until the end of turn, you may play one of those cards. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than paying its mana cost.
I'm just taking your shit. I'm just taking your shit again. That's all I'm doing.
I'm gonna steal your stuff.
I also really like Nashi. I like this art. This is the 30th anniversary Secret Lair art. I have his original art. It's not as good, but it's still good. Our Our next card is one of my favorite Magic cards of all time and was one of my white whales for a while. It's Omniscience. Or Omniscience, if you want to pronounce it correctly and be like a nerd about it, I guess. It costs 7 and 3 blue. You may cast spells from your hand without paying the mana cost. This is a 10 mana enchantment that just says I win, basically. Because if I'm casting shit for free, it doesn't matter what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And pair
10's
that
a
with
lot, but 10 for everything.
10's a lot, but if you pair it with one with the multiverse, you can cast it for free.
I like it. That's so.
And then you pair it with Ancient Cellar Spawn, and I can start draining opponents for every time I play a spell.
Yeah.
You know, I think we're actually going to be busy the day you were going to pod this specific deck with us. Like any other deck would be great, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be really. Yeah. How festive. So we're gonna move on to our next guy. I'm just kidding. We are though. We have Overlord of the Baelmerg. It's 3 generic and 2 black for an enchantment creature avatar horror. It is a 5/5. It has impending 5, which is 1 and a black. So you can cast it for its impending cost, right? That's like an alternative.
Yeah, you cast it for its impending cost, and for 5 turns, it's just an enchantment.
Gotcha.
And then on the 5th turn, it becomes a creature.
Perfect. So whenever Overlord of the Baelmerg enters or attacks, mill 4 cards, then you may return a non-avatar creature card or planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand.
I put this in today. I actually took, I can't remember what I took out for this card. I think, it was the demon. It was the 4 mana demon that made nightmares. I put him in because 1, he's an enchantment creature. 2, he comes in for way cheaper. Either way, if I miracle him out, he's 2 black. If I impending him, he's a black and 1. The milling and being able to return things, I like recursion. I like recursion if I'm throwing stuff in my yard. And he works with Master of Keys, who's still in the deck. So if I have to chuck stuff in the yard, I can then exile things I'm not using to bring it out.
Yeah.
Then it's 2 lands. It's Rafine's Tower and Restless Anchorage, and I like them.
I like them too.
Yeah, they're pretty. I like the art for Rafine's Tower like a lot, actually.
I have every art of Rafine's Tower that was printed in New Capenna.
I love New Capenna so much. Oh, hi.
People did not like that set when it came out, but I'm a New Capenna like evangelist.
The lands are so beautiful. Like, there's a lot of really good cards, but the planes are my favorite planes in probably the entire game. Honestly.
Oh yeah, so good.
We have the Rogue class, which is a blue and a black. Gain the next level as a sorcery to add its ability. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of that player's library face down. You may look at that for as long as it remains exiled. You can pay 1 and a demure for level 2. Creatures you control have Menashe. You can play 2 and demure for level 3. You may play cards exiled with Rogue class, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells.
So this is just objectively good. It works really well with that. It's basically a Douthie Voidwalker that I get to do all the time.
Yeah.
And I can just take your things for as many times as my creatures bop you. And I really like it. I run it really in a lot of my blue-black lists. Then it's 2 lands. It's Seachrome Coast. I like Mirrodin. This is the Scars of Mirrodin one.
That's fair.
It comes in untapped if I have it in my opener. And then I've got Shine Shadow. If I've got a Plains or a Swamp, it comes in untapped. And also, God, this art is good. Strixhaven is the set I came back in on, and it's one of my favorite sets of all time.
Yeah, it's good.
And then we got a Mana Rock. It's the Talisman of Hierarchy. Tap out a colorless, or tap and take a damage, add black or white. It's just good. It's better than a Signet.
So next up we have Tasha the Witch Queen. It's 3 in Dimir for a legendary planeswalker. Whenever you cast a spell you don't own, create a 3/3 black demon creature token. You can +1 her and draw a card. For each opponent, exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery card from that player's graveyard and put a page counter on it. You can -3 her, and you may cast a spell from among cards in exile with page counters on them without paying its mana cost. Tasha the Witch Queen can be your commander, and she enters with 4 loyalty counters.
She is just objectively a good card.
Yeah,
she is card draw. She she's not only is she card draw, she's a lot of card selection because then I get to take your instants and sorceries out of your graveyards.
Yeah.
And let's say somebody else has cast a demonic tutor or a vampiric tutor or something else. Then if I just -3 her, I can cast that, and then I get a guy, I get a dude with it.
That's the best.
Yeah.
She's just
that's
objectively a good card.
I think it's good here too.
The next card is Turgrid, God of Fright. It's 3 generic and 2 black for a legendary creature that is a god with Menashe. Whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent or discards a permanent card, you may put that card from a graveyard and onto the battlefield under your control. And then you can pay 3 generic and a black to transform it into an artifact, which is Turgrid's Lantern. 3 generic and a black, a legendary artifact. You can tap it. Target player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. And you can pay 3 generic and a black to untap Turgrid's Lantern.
Turgrid fine as hell.
Yeah, I don't play the
there's
lantern
no
side.
need for that. So fair.
Neither would I.
My dream is to have at least 3 shrines on the battlefield and play Turgrid and have Knight's Reach out so that I just start eating your hand and I start taking everything.
That thief sub-theme is like pretty
I like
high on your list of
Yeah.
thieves.
I like taking your shit. I just want to touch as many cards as possible. I am a blue player.
Yeah.
Like my other card, it just lets me touch my cards whenever I want to. It's the reality chip. 1 and a blue for legendary artifact, creature, equipment, jellyfish. That's too many words. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. As long as the reality chip is attached to a creature, you can play lands and cast spells from the top of your library, and you can reconfigure for 2 and a blue, where it becomes an equipment and allows you to do all that. This is just more redundancy to be able to look at the top. So if I don't have omniscience or one with the multiverse, where I can just like shit out my hand and still look at the top, this allows me to look at the top and kind of cultivate what I'm doing when I'm drawing cards and miracling things out.
Yeah. Alright, our final card is Vidalcan Orrery, which is 4 generic for an artifact that says you may cast spells as though they had flash.
It's just a good card. And
Yeah.
one of my favorite ways to play is land go.
Yeah. Well, I am stupid excited to see this deck in action. I think you've done a lot of really good things for it, and I think something that I appreciate about this specific upgrade is that it's not upgraded in a way that's going to make the Precon stronger based on the base of the Precon, but you've actually taken the Precon and I feel like you've changed it and added a lot of really fun sub-themes to make it like your own deck instead of just trying to make it like more powerful.
After taking out 38 cards, I hope I've done that.
So fair. Fair and valid.
But this was a fun build. I initially had, I think at its worst, I had 158 cards
Oh my gosh.
that I was trying to cut out. And I was slowly chipping away at it until it was just like 3 in the morning one morning, and I was like, if I just do it now, like I'm tired enough that I will be able to make the calls that I need to make and I'll be able to cut things.
Yeah.
It's like
100%.
a really thoughtful deck. Full of, like there's some things that we see in a lot of decks, but like she said, there's a lot of cards in here I've never even heard of before. Like this was really cool to go through.
That being said, thank you so much for joining us. This was super fun.
Thank you for having me on.
Love any reason to have you on. You're welcome anytime. Yeah, if you want to support the show directly, check out our Patreon down below. And speaking of Patreon, our tier 3 members are Hammy, Ballistic Lex, Doug Cooksey, Luxon MTG, Love and EDH, Demonic Attorney, Damocos Whiteblood, Edgar Montez, Christopher Cather, and Robert Park. We could not keep on without all of our Patreon members. We love you guys so very much. I'm Sarah.
I'm Sandwich.
We're GirlPod.
And now you're in GirlPod too.
Bye.
GirlPod, GirlPod. What's up, GirlPod? She's in GirlPod too.